Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing this extremely easy gingerbread town using printable vinyl. As always, I'll make sure to put everything that I use today into the description box down below, so that way you guys can purchase those items if you would like to. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. I am starting out with a 20-ounce skinny tumbler. This is a double-walled stainless steel tumbler, and I purchased that through the Stainless Depot company. I went ahead and I prepped and primed my tumbler already, and now we are just jumping right into getting our glitter applied. I have about 5 mLs of epoxy mixed up over there, and I'm going to be using a tad bit more this time around because I'm using a mini chunky glitter. So it's kind of chunky, kind of not, you know, it's a mini chunky. So I just want to apply a little bit more epoxy than usual, which is really going to help that glitter lay completely flat for me and make it much easier once we go to apply our coats of epoxy over top. And of course, if you don't like using the epoxy method to apply your glitter, go ahead and use your glue, your paint, however you would like to do it. But all in all, I probably used about 2 to 3 mLs of that 5 ml epoxy that I had sitting there. So after you get your tumbler fully applied with your adhesive, you're going to go ahead and sprinkle on your glitter. Now I'm just doing a full coverage, very basic, very simple. So I'm just going to take my glitter here and shake it all over the place. Now usually when I do chunky glitter, I'll sprinkle it on like right here. But since this is a mini chunky, it was better just kind of shake it onto my tumbler, kind of like how you would do your fine glitter. Now, if you'd like to use the glitter that I'm using today, this is called Sugar and Spice, and you can find that at socglitters.com if you would like to purchase it. If not, then go ahead and use what you already have on hand to do this. Now, after I get everything nicely coated with my glitter here, I'm going to go ahead and take my opposite hand, because my opposite hand is still gloved, and I'm going to start patting down my glitter. Again, between applying just a tad bit more epoxy and tapping it down like this, it is really going to make everything nice and smooth for us once we go to put that flood coat over top. Now I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side. I'm going to let that cure. I used my fast set, so I'll come back in about 3 hours or so, and we're ready to add that flood coat over top. It is nice and cured and it's ready to have its flood coat. Now I'm going to use about 20 to 30 mLs of epoxy to put over top of our raw glitter here. Now I did spray this down with my 2x Ultra, which I'll show you guys here at the end. It just really helps out and gives that epoxy something to grip to, because I am using metallic chunkies here, and metallic chunkies tend to want to wick away our epoxy. Now, after I get this applied, I'm going to stick that onto my turner, hit it up with my blowtorch really good, and let that cure. Now, I did notice it had a little bit more bumps in it, so I just went ahead and sanded those down, applied another thin coating of epoxy. It was about 10 to 20 mLs of epoxy over top of that, because we want a very nice smooth surface to be able to apply our printable vinyl onto. All right, our tumbler is epoxied smooth. It is nice and cured and ready to have those decals applied. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and measure our tumbler. So I'm just going to measure the width and the length. So it was about 9 inches around and it was about 8 inches high. Now the reason why I do this is because I like to do a template in my Cricut design space, which I am about to show you guys how I do that. All right, so I found this really cute gingerbread town on Creative Fabrica. I'll make sure to put that down into the description box for you guys. But I knew this is what I wanted to use. I thought it was so adorable. So I went ahead and I uploaded all the little designs right into my Cricut design space. And now I'm going to go ahead and get everything sized the way I would like to. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and make it my template so I know how big I need to make everything. Right up there at the top is how you unlock your items. Now it used to be right next to the design you were doing, but now it's at the very top there. You want to go ahead and unlock it and put your measurements in. But it's just that little padlock at the very top that you just want to click on that. Then I'm going to go ahead and arrange my box to the very back so that way I can put my decals over top. Now the next step is just completely up to you. However big or however much you want to do your designs, you're just going to fill in the bottom there, because that's the width around your tumbler that you're going to be doing. So you just want to measure everything down and make sure it's all going to fit nicely onto the bottom of your tumbler. Now I am going to kind of stack some stuff here and there, so that's why I'm just kind of lining everything up. I don't want to stack the houses too much, just the trees kind of over top, so that's why I'm just trying to measure everything down, see where I want everything. Now, after I figure that out, I'm not going to touch anything. The only thing I'm going to touch is the gray box behind everything. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. The reason why I'm not going to touch the town is I'm going to use that as a reference when I go to apply it to my tumbler. So now we're going to go ahead and press that Make It button, and we're going to get this going. Now, I did forget a decal. I forgot my main decal on there, but I'm going to go back through and I'm going to show you guys how to reuse the paper after you've already used it one time. So it's pretty simple. I'll show you guys that here in a minute. So we are using the print then cut feature on our Cricut Design Space. So I went ahead and pressed continue. And now let's talk about that paper. Now, the printable vinyl that I'm using today is by HTV Ront. I like it. It comes with 40 sheets in there. It was pretty good. And it's for inkjet or laser printer. So it doesn't matter what kind of printer you have. You can use it for either or. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a piece of this paper out. So sometimes it can be a little confusing. People don't understand. They think that the Cricut itself prints out the image when it doesn't. You have to print the image out on your printer first and then cut it on your machine afterwards. Now, after you get your paper pulled out, you're going to notice there is a shiny side and a matte side. The shiny side is the side that needs to be printed. The matte side is like the paper backing for it. So in my particular printer, I need to make sure that the shiny side is facing down when I go to print into my printer. So let's head over to my printer. When using specialty paper, I like to make sure it's the only thing in my tray there. It just makes it much easier and won't get jammed up on you in the process here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that paper in there. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I do my setting to A5 and specialty paper, which is glossy paper. Again, this is just really going to help out and make sure it doesn't get all jammed up and make sure that our image is as clear as possible. Then you're going to jump back over to your Cricut Design Space on your computer. You're going to go ahead and press Send to Printer, and you're going to actually leave the bleed on for this. Typically, I don't like to leave the bleed on, but for this, because it's like a sticker, and you want that image to kind of bleed out a little bit so that way there's no weird white spots around it, I leave the Add Bleed on, and we're going to go ahead and get that printed out. Now, the back of the package says to let it sit for like 10 minutes or something, but it's pretty much dry to the touch after it has printed. I just kind of wave it around in the air and it's good to go, I think. So now for the cut portion of it, you're going to take your Cricut mat. I'm just using a standard grit mat. If yours is super sticky, but mine's not very sticky, it's been used a lot, so it's not really going to latch onto the back of my paper backing there, but you definitely want to use a light grip or something that is not too sticky for your board. You're going to go ahead and line up your piece of paper. You just want to make sure it's nice and even across the top and across the sides, so that way your machine cuts your stickers out properly. And after you have that all nice and smoothed down, nice and straight, we're going to head back over to our Cricut Design Space. Now the next part is cutting out, like I said. So here I am going to browse all materials and I'm going to find the proper setting for my material that I'm using today. Now I am using a Cricut Maker 3, which this might look a little bit different than what you guys are using. I'm not sure. I just wanted to let you guys know that. So you just want to go into your vinyl and find printed vinyl and click on that, and that's going to set the depth of your blade. Extremely simple. But if you have a sticker setting or maybe washi tape setting, that could possibly work as well on your machine. So now that we have all that set, we're going to hop over to our Cricut. So my mat is placed and ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and press the flashing light. There we go. And that's going to take my board into my Cricut machine. The first thing it's going to do is measure our mat. So it's going to suck it in and out and measure our mat. Then after it measures the mat, you're going to come back over and you're going to press the next flashing light, which is like the sideways triangle or like a play button, you know. You're going to go ahead and press that, and it's going to start on its next process, which is going to come in and start reading those black lines that are around our decals. Now, the black lines itself are an indicators telling the printer where it needs to cut. It's making sure that everything's proper and it knows where it needs to do its job. And then it's going to start printing out our stickers. So if you're having an issue with your Cricut reading those black lines, I've seen people put simple Scotch tape all the way around it to kind of help the reader read the black lines. Sometimes it just has a difficult time, but now that that's all cut out, we are ready to start designing our tumbler. Super simple, right? I know you guys got this. So as you guys remember, I left that template up on my computer so that way I kind of knew where I wanted to put my houses. So I'm just going to simply follow that and apply these all the way around. Now, as you see, I'm not using transfer tape or anything like that. These are stickers you just peel and stick right onto your tumbler. Now, if you do use transfer tape, trust me when I tell you this, that could peel back your image. So you don't really need transfer tape for this. I mean, I guess if you super needed transfer tape, like if you had kind of a more intricate design, you could possibly run your transfer tape along your shirt to kind of dull down the stickiness of your transfer tape, and that might help out. But I mean, you're really not supposed to use transfer tape with this. You just peel and stick, like I said. So super simple. Now, before I apply my last decal, I'm going to come through and add just some more little finishing details before I do that. Now, I wanted it to look like snow falling behind everything, so I have a white acrylic marker. I'm just going to shake that up really good, and we're just going to do these very rustic looking snowflakes in the background. Now I have a little extra piece of paper there because I do have to prime my pen from time to time, but all you want to do is just do these little cross lines here, and then I'm just going to come through and add some little dots on the tips of it, and each one's going to be extremely different, but kind of with the same concept, just these little lines and then kind of connecting everything in between, because just like snowflakes, they're all going to be different and individual just like that. So the reason why I wanted to draw them on like this is because I just felt like it added to what we're doing here with the design that we're doing. The gingerbread houses aren't exactly perfect, you know, they're kind of jagged and rustic looking as well. And I just thought that these snowflakes almost maybe looked like icing falling from, you know, snowflake icing falling from the sky. And another thing I want to tell you guys as you're going is it's okay to come through and wipe anything away. You see, I got a big blob of my acrylic there. So I'm going to show you guys too what I do whenever stuff like that happens. So right there, my pen accidentally just leaked out a bunch of paint. So I'm just going to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I'm going to spritz it right onto a paper towel, and I'm going to simply just wipe that off. Now you just want to be very careful near your printable vinyl because it could kind of smear the inks that are on there, so just be very careful with that. And then just go right back in and finish doing up your snowflake there, and there you go, simple fix. All right, so after I get all that done, I'm just going to come through and kind of fill everything in with just these little simple designs here in between everything, just kind of fill it in a little bit more. Now I'm ready to show you guys my final decal here. So when you are using the printable vinyl that you've already used before, you want to make sure that your box isn't going to interrupt with the other box too much. As you see, my box kind of went outside of it, but it still had, my reader still had enough room to be able to read the lines it needed to and be able to cut my design out. So it was as simple as flipping my paper over, turning it around so that way I could use the opposite side, and I still actually could use the other side as well. I just have to make sure that I move everything over when I go to print it out and everything. So if you have an empty gap on the bottom of your paper, it's as simple as just kind of flipping it, turning it, making sure it's the right way in your printer to be able to get that printed on and then get it cut out, and make sure that your black box isn't interrupted by another black box. You need to make sure that has enough space around it for the reader to read the box that you need it to. All right, we're ready to move on to its final coats of epoxy here. Now, before I get going over top of my decals, I did go out and I gave it a spritz of my 2X Ultra. This is going to help out and make sure that the epoxy doesn't activate the inks that are on the vinyl, and it just makes sure that that epoxy is not going to wick away off of the top of our vinyl decals as well. Now this next part is completely optional. I just wanted a little extra shine, so I'm going to put a little bit of SOC sparkle dust and champagne right into my epoxy, and I'm going to go ahead and get that applied. Now this was about 10 to 20 mLs of epoxy. I'm going to go ahead and apply that, let that cure, apply another coat of epoxy over top of that, and it is good to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.